Welcome back, everyone. Now, a second series of the day is ready to kick off as the draft has begun and is ready for us. iG.V taking on Sun Gaming here for the ESL 1 Genting 2018 qualifiers for China. 1 week or so after the rest of Europe, Southeast Asia, NA, South America have all got their guys qualified. We are now looking for our Chinese team to get themselves through to Malaysia. And as we can see, an interesting back and forth already in the draft, drag and drop. Clockwork first pick by iG.V. Immediate SF pick to stop the soul snatching shenanigans from the cogs. And then we see the ET and AA follow up. A little bit interesting, SF ET opener, but adapting to the position they were in.
If iG.V didn't pick the Clockwork, I don't think Sun Gaming would have went for the Shadow Fiend, because it's very awkward first pick. It's also one of the reasons why we see different heroes picked up in the first phase and then the Clockwork Shadow Fiend in that second phase was maybe a little bit trickier to do this kind of counter pick thing, especially if you're already committed to some particular playstyle instead. But for now, actually curious to see Tiny going through that far, but he's finally been banned out in the second phase as well. But yeah, with the Clockwork Ancient Apparition, iG Vitality, they already have a very solid start. Clockwork, of course, he can be the 4 position, he can also be an offlaner, so you have that flexibility. Ancient Apparition, also very solid hero as that secondary support. And if you then combo that up with something else, even just the Clockwork, if you catch somebody inside the cogs, so you can guarantee that the Cold Feet will proc, and then you also have that extra bit of damage from the AA Chilling Touch, which can lead to these early kills that you're often looking for with these kind of heroes. But Sun Gaming getting themselves the Batrider, so some extra initiation of their own that they've been lacking so far, unless you really want to count the Elder Titan.
Yeah, the Clock AA support duo that is very strong at just... once they hit level 6, they go around the map looking for kills, and they can do that on core heroes. You can imagine a hook shot into Ice Blast with a cogs onto an SF. If he doesn't have a Yules or a Force Staff or a Hurricane Pike to get out of danger, he can easily die to that duo of support heroes of iG.V. As Legion comes out, good against the Bat in the kind of mid to late game, not so good early on, but it depends on what kind of lanes they're up against. But with that, press the attack, taking off the lasso, the sticky napalm stacks, definitely offers you a nice little bit of leeway in team fights and that saving power up against the Batrider. Bat, though, able to fly over the cogs, not going to be under too much pressure from Clockwork early on, which means that Clockwork is going to have to think about which lane or lanes he heads to. Off lane, probably unlikely to be the spot he wants to find himself in. So it might be that iG.V want to put the Legion in a 1v1 against Bat and have that lane where Bat farms well, but Legion isn't under kill power, and the Clock, the Clock AA and Lifestealer go like an aggro lane and try and play up against the ET Disruptor, who are not good heroes in a defensive tri-lane, and could suffer quite heavily to the hands of the iG.V trio.
They could certainly try and exploit that, but on the other hand, you do pick the Lifestealers, some of these classic counter picks, right? You already have the Legion as a counterplay to the Lasso, and Lifestealer is a hero that can stand in lane pretty much alone against the Batrider. It doesn't really get killed because it can always rage off these napalm stacks. So maybe you can just leave the Lifestealer in as 1v1 and use the Legion Commander as this tri-lane core. But yeah, as I said, it would make a lot of sense to contest this, because no matter what kind of hero Sun Gaming pick up now, they're gonna be under a lot of pressure, unless it's maybe something like a Vengeful Spirit that can just stay in front lines, get CS, but also threaten with that stun into perhaps a Stomp or whatever else they can throw out. But the question is that going to be enough against a tanky Clockwork and the threat that we were talking about just a moment ago with Cogs catching somebody in, or Clockwork just running people down with a battery assault? That alone can be devastating to a hero like Disruptor, especially if he, especially at level 1, if he's just skilled the Thunder Strike, or if he already used the spells. So iG.V, all guns facing forward already in the laning stage, and Sun Gaming, well, I mean, you have the Batrider, and we were talking about that. He should have a decent time regardless, because he can always fall back to jungles as well. But Shadow Fiend, he might actually need that himself, depending on what kind of hero iG Vitality you want to pick up for a middle lane now.
Yeah, jungle might get a bit crowded. This safe lane from Sun kind of has to... I don't know if salvage is the right word. I like what they have so far, but it definitely has to round out their draft incredibly well from that one position. iG.V do have to pick first for their mid, but they know what the opponent is. They know what they have to deal with, you know, lockdown-wise, because they see the Disruptor, ET, Batrider as the 2 supports and offlaner, so it doesn't feel like that important a decision from iG.V, as they've set themselves up nicely throughout the draft, and their final hero will be the Tinker. There is some catch here on the side of Sun Gaming with Bat and Disruptor, you know, Blink Lasso and Glimpse, but you're not going to have, you know, a Storm Spirit or a Nyx Assassin or something like that from the one role of Sun. It doesn't feel like. Maybe they feel forced to go into some kind of catch, but you look at the bans and there really isn't that much left. The Puck is gone, the Storm of course banned out by themselves, and they'll go with the Razor, which will try and give them this lane dominance, try and counteract the Lifestealer and the Legion more than the Tinker, and focus on that early to mid game. Hopefully shut down the Tinker with some early rotations and lane pressure from ET Disruptor, but iG.V definitely look like they have the better skirmishing power, the better kind of scaling through to that mid to late game with the help of Tinker, of course. But Sun do have elements of that as well. The trouble I foresee is if Shadow Fiend falls behind, like you were mentioning, the Bat and SF both need that jungle. If it gets too crowded in there, if they're not able to find early pickoffs and fights with a fast blink or, you know, aggression into tier 1s, then Sun Gaming, if they fall behind early, they could find themselves stuck in that rut throughout the game.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, look at Sun's lineup. It feels a little bit thin, right? Because you were mentioning they have these kind of tools up against what iG.V has, especially with the Razor just draining damage from either the Legion Commander or the Lifestealer. You also have the Disruptor and the Batrider just to catch out the Tinker. But the thing is, there's not a lot of flexibility. Like, one of these puzzle pieces falls out or is too far away or dead or anything, and the whole strategy falls apart, and then you have iG.V's heroes with the ability to do whatever they want. Like Legion Commander running you down, just setting up with the help of the Lifesteal to get these kills. Clockwork also just creating chaos and dividing the fights up, and then the Tinker just bouncing around on the edges time and time again, just throwing at rockets and lasers and whatever Tinkers want to do, if they get to the point where he's farmed enough. And I don't know, there's no classic ganking heroes in the early parts of the game that can really threaten the Tinker, so what can they really do to threaten him is my big question here.
Get early items on the Batrider. It really is key that Bat has a good early game and gets, you know, fast Tranquil Soul Ring Blink or Brown Boots Drums Blink, whatever he decides to go for, but he definitely has to have an impact early on. And you've also got to get levels on your Disruptor, which can be difficult in a game like this. That level 6 on Disruptor with a Static Storm, super important against Lifestealer, Tinker, and Legion to catch them and kill them. But we'll see how things progress, as Legion will be heading towards the off lane here, should be having a decent time. Again, up against Razor and Disruptor, can purge off the Thunderstrike with that press the attack, but can't really do too much against the static link. Razor should be able to drain a decent amount of damage. But then you look at this bottom lane. Cold Feet, Open Wounds, and potential of cogs from this Clockwork. Batrider, that Firefly cooldown is incredibly important, but also getting out of this sticky spot is important. Cold Feet will snap onto the Batrider's head. A few more clicks will do the job, but it looks like Bat has got enough distance away with that Firefly, but already expended. Doesn't drag the creep wave back. He went for the Bounty Rune contest instead of trying to get the creeps down here to meet at his tier 1. So I feel like maybe a misplay from Batrider there, but he'll be able to get back to lane and try and apply a bit of pressure early on in a little while. But the fact that Batrider's been done in there means that the AA and Clockwork can do so much elsewhere on the map. Dogfights already pressures SF mid. The AA has found the ET wandering around in his jungle. Maybe doesn't know about this Observer Ward in the pull spot, but yeah, he's picking it out. He's pretty certain that there is a ward somewhere around here, and he'll see that the camp has been blocked up in about 10 seconds or so. And up at top lane, Legion is doing what I thought Batrider should have done. Pulling the creep wave across. This will secure level 2 for the Legion pretty shortly. ET's doing the job that, you know, Legion and Bat have been doing decently. So that will get some levels for them. But again, it's the Shadow Fiend mid who is struggling and will continue to struggle for the majority of this game.
Yeah, especially not having this Cogs trick available to just start you off with a good number of souls. And then on top of that, having to deal with the Clockwork as well as a Tinker Laser. it's gonna be extremely hard. I mean, he's level 2 now, finally got that up and running, so that should help him secure a few extra CS with the Razors and perhaps also help him zone out at least Clockwork here if he can get a couple of these stacks going.
ET has to be super careful. ET could quite easily die here. Laser Rockets is up. He's going to walk this one off. Clockwork doesn't get involved, but if he'd stuck around a little longer, that Tinker does output a lot of damage, and Clockwork's going to come back in and force this SF to trade hits with him a little bit. This is a little bit awkward for the Dire team, it feels like, as they've also pushed this top wave into the Tier 1. The Legion did, of course, drag this back a little while ago, so Equilibrium has been messed up just a touch, as we'll have a bit of a pause and a disconnect. I'm guessing hotkey issues, we've been having a lot of those recently. So what do we have player-wise? Give us a rundown of who's playing what.
Yeah, what's the balls we can take the time? I'm just running through this list here. We've got, okay, it just disappeared. We've got Sakato and a Tinker, Flyby playing the Lifestealer, Leading Commander in the hands of Surf or something? SRF. Dogfights, of course, on the Clockwork. He's tagged up properly, and Super left on the Ancient Apparition. On the other side, we've got Ice playing the Elder Titan, Batrider in the hands of Wai Shi. I guess that's the way to pronounce it. MRRR on the Disruptor, Faded on the Shadow Fiend, and not sure the Razor is just Chinese characters, even as a competitive name.
What's he called on Liquipedia? Where are we, Sun Gaming? Oh, he's got Chinese characters on Liquipedia as well. Oh, it's Blink, dude. It's Blink. Of course it is. It slipped my mind.
Oh yeah, there it is.
So Blink and Ice from Wings. It's nice seeing the Wings guys all backing around. You know, we've seen Shadow, we've seen Y. They're doing a great job so far in these qualifiers. Up at top, the Legion chasing Disruptor back away from this pull through. We nearly saw the Shadow Fiend fall to the Tinker with this Laser Rockets build, 2-1-0 so far. Batrider has managed to stay alive bottom, 3 last hits, getting levels most importantly. But Lifestealer with a wand could potentially be left alone down here, but you take a look at the AA, in a bit of trouble, Cold Feet thrown out, but Batrider, 4 stacks of Napalm, now up to 5, the Cold Feet snaps, and Ancient Apparition might be able to escape from this. Batrider's dropping lower to the tower, and he's gonna fall! First blood goes to the AA, and that was an awful dive gone wrong for Bat. Nearly gets first blood himself, but instead hands it over to the Radiant.
Feels so bad. Cold Feet procs is just at the edge, and you realize, alright, I fucked up. But there's no other choice but to keep going and still try for the last extra right click, but fortunately you didn't get a range for that, so instead feeding the first blood over. Not the kind of start you want, but I mean, we saw the threat though. It didn't take much for the Ancient Apparition to die there, much more than what it was supposed to. So Batrider does have that similar kind of killing potential that the Clockwork perhaps has as well, especially if he does end up hitting level 3 and they can start running down heroes like the Disruptor, even Shadow Fiend. Like, he's setting up for something in mid, now waiting for Faded to go across into the river, and there's the wraparound. Even sees the courier.
Daytime ends, the double raise. Oh, dogfights, dearie me. The triple comes through, and down he goes. Pushback of the cogs. ET, hasted. Can't follow through as the Cold Feet comes in. Rockets, only level 1. Did go back for a point in the March. Of course, you do feel the necessity to go back into the farming build as you'll get into your Soul Ring and Boots of Travel. We've seen a lot more, in fact, nuke damage builds. You know, going for max laser, going for a couple points in rockets early, and going for Boots of Travel rush, so you're able to run around the map and get kills early on, and then go back for the Soul Ring a little bit later as Tinker does miss out on the observable last hit. The range creep comes in and says, thank you very much. But top lane, here are the supports pairing up, and this is the combo that's about to happen, which we will see a lot of this game. Starts off with the cogs into Cold Feet, and then of course we'll start getting the Ice Blast, but Dogfight in with a Battery Assault. Cold Feet's there. Not going to go for the cogs just yet, which maybe was a mistake, but the Razor doesn't have the tankiness really to withstand the damage from the Legion as well as those 2 heroes.
Yeah, it didn't quite work out in mid because the Razors did end up hitting, but Clockwork making it happen at the top, even with just the 1 point up in a better sold middle lane though. The Storm will actually connect to the Tinker. 1 race, 2 race, no more mana for another one. Glimpse just keeping it in place and just straight up dies to the Tinker with 2 extra heroes, dropping so low. Now the supports from iG.V making another bit of a trade out of it. 2 for 1. Tinker getting one of these kills all by himself.
Ancient Apparition on a killing spree. Nearly died very early on, nearly was first blooded, but 3-0 so far on the Ancient Apparition, as they'll get a nice little two-man shrine. Clockwork not really needing it too much. Tinker dying there is a little bit sad, but he already has Soul Ring Bottle. His farming build will start blossoming into a wonderful thing, as they should be building up some stacks for him to get the Boots of Travels fast as well. But Dogfights and this Ancient Apparition just going around looking for kills non-stop.
They got this one when they were shrining up, but that's about it for now, I believe. Clockwork level 3 now, so all of a sudden you have even... it just adds so much to the damage output, more than doubles it from the Battery Assault.
And they've got some nice stacks for the Bat Rider, so... Yeah, Lifestealer was given, what, level 4, level 5? And that's when he can start 1v1ing the Bat, which meant the AA could roam. But now they've moved ET down there, but it's still these two roaming heroes finding Disrupt at top. Static Link is good onto the Legion, giving a lot of damage in onto the Razor, which allows Clockwork to fall to the hands of the Whipcracker himself. Blink will take that kill, as they do get a trade at the very least. And Legion walks off the damage that ET pumps in. But dire Observer wards all around this top lane, knowing that AA and Clock are roaming around, needing to give this vision to keep Razor up and running. Very intelligent warding from the Dire.
There's good connect fields to make sure that the Stomp will connect. Also the drain on the Legion Commander to make sure that even if a duel does come out, there's actually no easy way for Legion Commander to actually finish it onto somebody. So all around they're dealing with this aggression the best way they can, and they're buying more time for the other heroes. I mean, Batroid up to level 7 now. Can start farming your jungle very efficiently. He also has the Blink Dagger queued up instead of the drums or anything else. So that's that early aggressive item that you were talking about.
Still, yeah, Lifestealer farming away very nicely. So what are we looking at? Tinker back into the jungle, Soul Ring and Rearm here and ready to go. Farming away in the jungle, giving Dogfights the mid lane to get into that level 6.
That's the other thing. Tinker, again, not being slowed down at all, is going to hit that probably like 10-minute Boots of Travel. Would be hitting it a little bit quicker if there was some stacks on this side of the jungle. But the only one still sitting on the other side in that small little side jungle that he's not gone on just yet. But speaking of going on, smoke rotation in the bottom lane, the Shadow Fiend joining in up against a Lifestealer who does not have the Infest available, holding on to Rage as long as he can. Two Rays already coming in. Well, there it is. The Lasso also available for the Batroid, means that he will not be able to survive because of it.
And no action anywhere else on the map. Dogfight sits mid, Tinker still trying to farm the jungle. Picks up an Arcane Rune for himself, and he doesn't have one stack like you were saying. Up in the northwest. They couldn't really go in on the Razor with Disruptor sitting so nearby, and Legion plus AA, not really the best two heroes to go in and kill anyone, but they'll get some stacks going here for the Tinker. Try and build up bank as he does close in on the Boots of Travel. Now 500 gold or so off that mark. Still good moves from the Dire team. Getting across this map. Sure enough, spreading thin across the lanes, but Batrider is having a great time. After that first death bottom, which could have tilted the best off-laning player in the world, honestly, that almost first blood into dying to a tower is just an awful circumstance to happen to you. Now has Soul Ring into Blink in about 600 gold or so after these camps, and that's going to be a very good timing for him, while AA Clock, under Dire Vision, I believe, did smoke up and move towards the Razor, but he's sitting very close, hugging the tier 1, and now you see the smoke coming in from the rest of his team. Dire knows this is happening, and they'll be spotted out. Low ground to high ground, Clockwork moves forward, in fact, into the Razors of the SF. One more should do it, but Fader doesn't get it. Razor will clean up and finish the job as the Glimpse does catch the Ancient Apparition. 2 for nothing. Reactions here from the Dire team. Thanks to that vision all around the top lane, completely shut down the Clock and AA.
You know, at the best of times, even if they went on the Razor there, they would have had enough time to then come in. Instead, they just find the Clockwork up on the high ground. So, very well played indeed. And then, of course, with the Disruptor, you always get that +1. 3 points up on a Glimpse. It's really, really strong range already. And, well, it does make it that you have to either win or you just lose that extra hero. Right? It's so obnoxious to play against. Or at least they don't also have to deal with the Kunkka, because that's even worse.
Oh yeah. One after one after one.
I've seen these kind of games, and it's not pretty.
They are super messy. So Clockwork has hit level 6. Ancient Apparition is about a level away from it. I'm assuming they've already bought and used their tome to get that Clockwork up to that level. But we start to now look for the Infest Bombs. Clockwork and Lifestealer can start pairing up. Armlet is ready. You have to worry about now the blink from Batrider, which is 200 gold away. Drums on the Razor means that he can be active, and they've got Static Storm, which can absolutely ruin a Lifestealer's day if they get that jump on him. So they move forward with a smoke to go. Batrider on about 2/3 HP. No Firefly available, maybe baiting this one out as his blink is coming out on the Courier. Radiant none the wiser. 2 heroes mid sitting defending the Tinker. Ancient Apparition needs that level 6. He's trying to leech experience there, while Legion is about 300 off her blink. Could do with a bit more time.
Next couple of minutes are going to be very important for the pace of the game, because we've seen Sun Gaming just counterplaying a little bit of what iG.V is trying to do, but now all these items, all these timings are starting to hit. We talked about the Blink Dagger on the Legion, but also the Boots of Travel on the Tinker. He's not too far off his own blink now, just because of that. So, and Sun Gaming, for all their efforts, they haven't really been able to slow him down or Lifesteal even, despite that death. He's still setting it at the top of the net worth chart. So he does provide that damage, right? You already have the Armlet, which is a huge amount of damage output, even without something like a Desolator.
And they couldn't find the Lifestealer. He was just farming jungle while they were hunting. Now Firefly is back up again, fortunately. Batrider has it available. But in comes the Ice Blast. They're scouting out. They look for the bat. They saw him for a second, and the hookshot lands with a perfect jump. They do get the lasso back in with the Static Storm, but the Rage is already used, and Lifestealer tanking through all the damage of Clockwork. Can he escape? Through the march he walks. The Thunder Strike will be enough with the Razor's right clicks to take down Dogfights, as Legion in very deep has the duel available, but the Razors with the Plasma Field, so much magic damage coming through, they kill off the AA. That's a nice Earth Splitter, but Lifestealer turns and burns, kills off the SF. Razor very low, and this Legion taking down yet another with that overwhelming odds. ET runs away, but their HP incredibly low. Lifestealer takes a tumble, and a 2 for 3 will be what ends up with this team fight collapsing.
Everyone dropped so low there. Some crucial plays from both sides, especially the Disruptor with the Static Storm, but also Glimpse on the Tinker. Brought him back to base at the bottom a couple of extra seconds. Otherwise, Tinker would have been able to get in like at least one more round of spells. Might have just turned the tide here, but as it stands, just had to rearm back at base. And again, just a couple of seconds, but these kind of timings can make a huge difference here for Shadow Fiend to go in, throw down these Razors, but also the Razor himself. Just draining some more damage and whatnot.
It is where this Tinker starts to shine though. Farming across the map. No real way to stop him from finishing off his blink, and then into Kaya. Aghanims is going to be huge this game, which is why you see Shadow Fiend now rushing from drums into BKB. No Dragonlance, no Hurricane Pike is coming, no Mask of Madness. No Yule Scepter or Blink either. You know, this is a very step-by-step defensive build, tanking up as much as he can. Even the Blink Dagger skipped out by the Shadow Fiend as Faded will find an Arcane Rune, closing in on level 2 Requiem. But it is the top lane that we have to look out for. Ice Blast trying to scout for the Batrider, but he TPs away, hiding away in those trees.
Did see him a little bit earlier with the rocket, but then Dogfights out of range and then not willing to commit with the hook shot into nothing, essentially, because it blinked further into the trees. So not going to get that kill, but they will get the tower with Lifestealer jumping away at the same time. Tinker down bottom. Left his own devices, better TP out, yeah. Thinking about pulling the trigger there, but it should end up being a 1-for-1 trade.
Yeah, Batrider so desperately wants to go in, but Blink on Tinker means it is hard. Now he's trying to spam Sticky to see if Tinker TP's back in, but he shows mid with the march, and they'll know there is no real chance of catching him down at bottom. So the tier 1 top falls. Bottom 1 not going to be defended here by the Radiant, it appears. Just a long Ice Blast thrown through as the smoke from the Dire swinging all the way through this Radiant jungle. Triple wards, watching out for farming here. No one is lurking around though, and it looks like Sun want to try and meet iG.V. Catch any stragglers as the tier 2 is being pressured, but this is a An interesting initiation is Batrider Firefly. Blink Lasso, Legion's the one that's caught. A lot of expenditure thrown her way, an easy kill though. And she's cleared up.
I feel like they need a little bit more. I mean, Sun Gaming, they really feel the pressure, right? Because they spent a lot of time down bottom, just pressuring this tier 1 tower. They finally get it, but they also really wanted the Tinker. They're hoping that he would come back and then expose themselves to the Batrider. That didn't happen, so... And meanwhile, iG Vitality were farming 2 different lanes. And then they make the smoke rotation across the entire map with 5 heroes, really, and only get this 1 kill. It feels like that's too little here compared to what iG Vitality can bring to the table. This is something else, yeah. They can't connect with a Stomp with the ultimate Razors there, and this is their Tinker.
Yeah,
and this is the kind of, these are the kind of kills that they really need to slow down the game for iG.V, buy themselves more time, and just build, more importantly, build the momentum on the Razor as well as the Shadow Fiend.
He was not expecting that. Maybe a misplay, but Tinker.
There it is. Blink Dagger now on Legion Commander. They make that smoke rotation towards mid themselves. Clockwork showing himself. Ah, that's an Invis Elder Titan, so he was not scouted out by this Observer Ward.
Where's Legion going? The Rocket Flare sees the Shadow Fiend. The Shrine, it is there, but with the Shrine now down, it feels like time to go. Legion will press the attack. Jump forward, and this should be a relatively quick kill, but until the glimpse arrives, Rage from the Lifestealer means that he's pretty tanky through all of this. The magic damage will now start to come out, though, with a double raise. Thunderstrike there, Legion trying to sprint away. Ice Blast like flew across into the base, and I don't know where this Lifestealer's going. He goes for the Rage TP, but Lasso will catch and kill as Sun Gaming react very quickly as top lane. They get the ET, but it's not enough damage. TP's out under the very nose of Tinker. Dogfight's already expending that hook shot. Sun Gaming get away with absolute murder there. Don't lose a hero, they get the kill on Lifestealer, and now they can control the map as they wish.
A couple of heroes going back to the fountain. Elder Titan with the TP scroll still alive, but Lifestealer a bit of a different fashion. So going in a little bit too deep. They just didn't quite have the damage output. Maybe not expecting the Shadow Fiend to be this tanky, but just what you have, especially if you don't go for this minus armor build on top of the armor. iG.V, they still have the Stinker, right? They still have the trump card, so as long as he's alright, as long as he's doing well and keeping the lanes pushed out and farming, then they're still in this game by all means. But
I mean, the trouble is he was top net worth for a long time, and now he's slipped a little bit, did die at a very important time. That key moment where Tinker's, you know, like the first 5 or 6 minutes, you know, you can die 0-5 and you feel bad, but it's okay because you can catch up later on. But in this period of the game, Tinker is meant to be not dying and permanently farming like 2 or 3 lanes, just jumping around the map and drawing attention. You know, it's not just about his own gains, it's about forcing your opponents to lose as well with their rotations. But Tinker being dead for quite some time, finally gets his Kaya, which is another kind of stopgap item. Tinker's item builds recently have become a little awkward with the addition, or with the change to Ether Lens and the addition of Kaya to the game, because it feels like you can go so many different angles now with like Ether Lens into Hex Rush, you can go Dagon build, Aghanim's build, Shiva's Guard build, there's a number of different routes to take. It looks like he's going to be going straight Kaya Dagon, magic damage burst.
Like, you want all of these items, but the question is, what item is ideal now in this situation that the game is in right now, and it's also a question of slot efficiency, right? Tinker is really suffering from that more so than most other heroes because he can farm so quickly. He can make use of so many items, but he only has so many slots to work with, even with the backpack being added on.
He's always had that issue, though.
Yeah.
It's a difficult time.
Should connect in, there should be free kill. Throwing out some spells, but not really going to change the outcome of this. Can iG.V react to this is the question.
Where's Lifestealer? Is he infested? I was looking around at all the heroes to see if he's infested in one of his mates, and he's in a dragon. He's farming Ancients. The Ancients refuse to aggro onto him because there's a Clockwork nearby. But Sun Gaming, so far, looking very, very good. ET incredibly farmed here for Staff, along with his Tranquil Soul Ring. But Shadow Fiend, after a rough-ish early laning stage, has definitely caught up nicely, and with that BKB now complete, he can start thinking about the Dragonlance, the Force Staff into Pike to deal with the Clockwork, but also to be able to kite around this Lifestealer. who has not really implanted a thought of fear into his opponents just yet. He hasn't really pressed the issue. He does need to start looking for these big blink initiations with Legion.
Yeah.
Blade Mail's coming, so what better time than now?
Well, so far, I mean, Sun Gaming, they're hitting the timings with the BKB just to protect against the Tinker and 4-star. Like that's splitting the difference a little bit. Razor going for the 4-star first, then into the BKB, which he almost has enough money for as well. So Blink is also getting to the point where they can all say collectively, hey, we can fight into them right now, not really have to worry too much. And I think that's the pressure that iG.V is feeling. This combination, this Legion Commander Lifesteal, hasn't really netted them any kills whatsoever, let alone dual victories. Still sitting at a straight 0.
I think this ET Spirit has given some info over to the Sun Gaming. They're all grouping up and they know this smoke is coming, whether they saw it with an Obs Ward or the ET Spirit caught onto a hero. They definitely know something's happening, even planting defensive sentries in case there's an Invis hero anywhere nearby. It does buy time for Tinker to start split pushing and farming more aggressively though with his group up, but I think Sun could think about just pressing into tier 2s or considering Roshan soon with the heroes and builds they've got so far. You know, Blink 4-staff is here for Batrider. He could very easily catch and kill pretty much anyone as long as Legion's not nearby.
Alright, so now like we've been talking about momentum, just wasting a lot of time, but it goes both ways. I mean, again, an infest into Legion Commander, not a lot of time spent farming, more time just spent looking for kills. And if Sun Gaming can keep dodging this out, then the Tinker ends up being the only one who's getting ahead. Now there it is. That's the one that they were looking for. Sheriffine, absent of support from the rest of his team. He does end up dropping first dual victory.
He was a long way away from everyone else.
Yeah.
They're all top lane looking for potentially a Tinker. They're only going to find a Clockwork though. Dogfights out in the open, drawing attention up towards top lane while the rest of his team bottom hunting for Batrider as Dogfights glimpsed back into the hole. The Earth Splitter won't connect, but Hookshot unable to get him any distance from the opponents as Batrider has been found. Do they have a stun? They don't, unfortunately. Legion without the duel off cooldown. Not able to stop the TP, and ET will be here to attempt the defense of the tier 1, but a quick raid from Lifestealer does get him away from danger of that stun.
Might be able to get a deny actually though with iG.V kind of slowing it down a little bit, with Tinker aggressively TPing in to secure that for the Lifestealer. And top lane, Sun Gaming haven't actually been able to make a trade out of it. They're all committed down bottom for the defense. So again, I mean, if you look at the gold graph, that's basically telling the story of this game. There has been like 1.5k in favor of iG.V at one point. Now we're sitting at the same kind of number for Sun Gaming. So no team's really been able to grab that foothold, build that momentum, and really take control of the map really for the longest, for more than a couple of minutes at a time.
Everyone's farming. Like 35,000 net worth at 24 minutes for each team. You know, you've got Tinker and Razor even. You've got SF and Lifestealer very close to each other. Legion is slightly ahead of the Batrider, but it's all very even, you know, roll to roll.
Speaking of Batrider down bottom, found Tinker into the Stomp here. Do they have enough damage? Just the next question, and all the answers yes. There's no help coming in here for the Radiant side. No close TP location. And now it's 50 seconds where you don't really have to worry as much about stacks being farmed or lanes being pushed in. So now it's an opportunity here for Sun Gaming to claim a tier 2 objective.
Yeah, more importantly, you don't have to worry about March spam onto towers, so you can pressure tier 2 at long last. Get a couple more objectives under your belt and farm this enemy side of the jungle as Dogfights tries to send them back, get some vision of the Batrider with the rocket flares. The rest of the team, they're coming in. Tinker 20 seconds until he's alive. He's got Dagon level 1. I don't think considering buyback is worth it, so they're going to go and try the instant jump. Static Storm is down and Legion's caught. Blade Mail goes, but Lifestealer forced to jump out with a rage to go. He is being drained of his damage though. Razor runs forward and that's going to be the end of the Lifestealer. iG.V crumbling. A really bizarre move to play so aggressively there without your Tinker. They were looking for a quick grab, but it was the Disruptor who was faster on the fingers.
Yeah, it's very questionable play just going in where you know, alright, that's got to be the entire 5-man lineup down there, and they had all the time in the world to set up to guard exactly against these kind of rotations. I mean, Disruptor in a perfect spot.
You know what the funniest thing is? That was the first time SF used his BKB, and he's had it for a good, like, 8-9 minutes. Razor hasn't used his BKB yet. This is still Sun Gaming kind of winning map control, winning fights, winning pickoffs, without using BKBs, and without really losing too much map momentum. They've still got tier 1 mid, albeit on 22 HP, but it is still there, still standing,
Still
with a
TP
glyph,
location, right?
with a glyph there. And they've still got tier 2s across the map as well, so Radiant really do have to start thinking about picking up the tempo here.
But they also have to recognize the kind of fights that they go into, because right now, they can't go 5-on-5 up against the Razor and the Shadow Fiend, because with or without having used the BKBs, his potential is still there. So the Tinker, in terms of damage output in these kind of fights, he's very useless against these cores right now. So what they need to do is try and make these kind of plays with Legion Commander when the other team is split up a little bit more, right? Go for these quick and easy pickoffs, even just on supports, just to try and slow them down, buy